Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader rise for some questions, please?
Floor leader.
Hello. Hi, thank you so much. So we know when this was passed 52 years ago, I would venture to say that many people on this floor were not even alive. That there was a time frame put on this amendment. And it was it was 2 years, and then it got a 39-month extension. It failed in June of 1982 because only 35 of the necessary 38 states had ratified it, and 5 of them already withdrew their support. How can this not be a dead amendment? This is dead. Technically and practically, this expired many, many, many years ago.
Floor leader.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. If you will reference, there's like 4 pages of whereas clauses on this one, and some of them address that exact question. To have the full force and effect, a substantive change to the U.S. Constitution must be within the text of the amendment, and in this case, it was in the preamble, and therefore, it does not apply as far as the time limit goes.
Well, the state can say anything they want, but the actual constitutional amendment, the actual constitutional law says that Maryland may have affirmed this in 1972. They were one of the early adopters. But this is a dead amendment. You can have all the whereas clauses you want. And matter of fact, you just told the good delegate from Harford County the whereas clauses don't count because defining sex wasn't necessary.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but the amendment that we had before us earlier was not to one of the whereas clauses, it was to one of the resolved clauses. So it's a different part of the legislation. All these whereas clauses are expressing the opinion of the General Assembly. That is what a Senate joint resolution or a House joint resolution does. It expresses the opinion of the General Assembly of Maryland that this is what, and it's based on legal definitions and legal advice from experts that were consulted in the writing of all these whereas clauses. And we had a full hearing on it, and we listened to a lot of people talk about it. And it is before us now. I don't see that we need to do anything else.
Well, in that case, Madam Floor Leader, I guess we did need the good delegate from Harford County's amendment because your whereas clauses that you've just said are virtually as important defined sex, which includes legal equality and protection from discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, which then would expand this to someone other than a female.
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would refer the body to page 4, the whereas clause that begins on line 17, which is about what Maryland has done over several decades. We talked about the many decades since Maryland passed the Equal Rights Amendment, in which time frame Maryland has passed laws and created protections attempting to guarantee equal rights under the law for all Marylanders, regardless of race, color, ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, creed, religion, or sex, which includes the legal equality and protection from discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy outcomes, and decisions regarding reproductive care or other aspects of an individual's bodily autonomy. So that is what Maryland has done. That is what this whereas clause is about. And that is why it is perfectly appropriate for this resolution.
Thank you. On the bill. Madam Speaker. This is nothing more than virtue signaling, because if you look 2 paragraphs down from what was just read, it says it's resolved that this will be the Equal Rights Amendments as the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which it cannot be. It cannot be because the time frame has passed. The late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said in 1997, which would be when many people on this floor were still in high school, that there is no practical difference between what has evolved and the ERA. It's been disconnected from its original purposes. The time frame has clearly left, and doing this is nothing more than a feel-good measure. And I will tell you that I rarely agree with Gloria Steinem, but I will today when she said on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 1986 that the ERA is dead. And that's because it is. The time frame has left. If Congress wants to start another ERA amendment, we can have a conversation about that. But this that's before you is completely meaningless. I'll be voting against this.
St. Mary's. Anne Arundel. St. Mary's. Are you up or down?
Well, I was trying to be gracious. Thank you, Madam Speaker, but I was trying to be gracious. I saw my Vice Committee Chair wanted to say some words, and I was willing to yield the floor because I was interested in the remarks and comments my colleagues had to make. Could the floor leader please rise real quick?
Floor leader.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon now.
You're right.
Very well, thank you.
I was actually speaking to my wife a couple days ago about this amendment, and she had a great question. She wanted me to propose it. She asked, what rights do men have that women currently don't have?
I guess it depends on your perspective, because we know that under the law, we're talking about equality under the law. We're not talking about how people get along with each other, or, but how the government treats people. And all people should be treated with equality under the law. And no government, not the United States government, not the state of Maryland, not any state in the United States, should be able to discriminate or abridge the rights of all.
So I completely agree with that statement that you said. Can you name me the law that is not equal?
I would like to yield to the doctor in the back of the room,
Floor Leader Gill.
if you don't mind.
Floor leader from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good morning.
Thank you, Floor Leader. That's a great question. I could think of a few. I'm just spitballing here.
Give me some
Bodily
examples.
autonomy, the right to have decisions about your health care made between you and your health care provider. Those would be two just off the top of my head that I think men
So
pretty
you're
much
telling me
enjoy.
women don't have the right to make decisions about their health care? I know
Absolutely.
that not to be true.
Really? Yeah, well, let me update you.
Sure.
Let me update you. When women are asked to make decisions or in a position where they need to make decisions about reproduction, the Supreme Court has determined that that's not a private decision between them and their provider, whether they want to use a pill for abortion or whether they want to have a procedure done on their body. And I think if a man has a reproductive decision to make with respect to a vasectomy, a penectomy, or any of those other things, that those decisions are pretty much still left up to the man and his provider.
So I'm not a Supreme Court justice, and unlike some Supreme Court justices, I don't pretend to be a biologist, but I understand that the decision with the Supreme Court in abortion care dealt with the concern about the baby being a person. It wasn't necessarily about the mother, and they left it up to the state's laws. So that's not the law here in Maryland, correct? I mean, we've done a lot of stuff for abortion funding that I remember in the last couple of years. So I'm asking you to give me the law in Maryland, this is a Maryland document, that's not equal.
Yeah, so the difference is that when you have things in the Constitution, which for one reason this body decided that we're going to take that issue to referendum in this fall, is because if it's not in the Constitution, it can be taken away at any time.
There's a lot of things that are not in the Constitution, but they're still law.
Yeah, but the difference is laws are fungible and they can change. Constitutional rights do not. So that's the answer to your question. You asked what rights men have
And you haven't named one
that
yet.
women don't. Well, I have, and you don't see it that way, and that's just a point of disagreement.
So let me ask you a question. If this law passes,
it's not
signed
a law,
into law,
it's a resolution.
the resolution, what changes?
Well, we've made clear in our statement as a body that we feel that there should be no discrimination on the basis of sex. It's just that simple. It's a statement of our.
So it does nothing. It's just it's stating how we feel.
That's what resolutions do. It's a resolution, so there's no reason for you to object, because it doesn't do anything from your perspective.
Okay, I appreciate
But
your
for
time.
those of us who will be voting yes on it, we think it draws a line and it makes a statement that is worth being made.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, on the bill, or
On
on
the
the
bill.
resolution here, look, I just think this is very divisive. It's something that it doesn't really even come in the realm of the General Assembly when it comes up. And I remember a few years ago here, and people that are new and freshly elected in 2020 might not remember, when we would put a bill forward, and it was always on Senate bills, and we would strike the entire bill and insert another bill. And we did away with that on the House rules because it became too political, because people didn't know what they're voting on. Well, this bill serves as the same reasoning behind it. It does nothing. As the woman from Baltimore County articulately said, it will do nothing for the 28th Amendment because the time frames ran out. It is virtue signaling. And look, I think this is what happens when political parties push stuff forward when they can't run on good schools, safe streets, and a vibrant economy. We put this divisive stuff on the floor, and I just don't agree with it, and I'll be voting no. Thank you for taking the time, though.
Gentleman from Baltimore City.
One of the